Good morning, my dear students. Welcome back. So, today we are going to continue with chapter 6 as we were discussing about the problems faced by women. Today we are going to discuss about the other weaker sections also. Now, awareness against the dowry tradition. Now, even after the enactment of the anti-dowry law, incidents like women burned to death as sari pallu catches fire while cooking and women slips into the well while washing clothes, drowns and dies, continue to be reported. Investigations still reveal dowry to be the most frequent cause of such death. The role of the police, the administration, the judiciary were highlighted. This created greater awareness. As a result, the Dowry Prohibition Amendment Act came into force in the year 1984. In 1988, 2,209 women died victim to the dowry tradition. In 1990, the number of dowry deaths was 4,835, and in 1993, it was 5,377. These numbers will impress upon you the seriousness of this issue. So, children, as we saw, this dowry tradition was really a very serious one because of which many women lost their lives. And the reasons like women slipping into the well while washing clothes, or then the sari pallu catches fire and the woman dies because of she's burned, like that. Many cases used to come, and hence investigations started. They were forced to investigate deeply and find out the reason behind what is this happening. And so this dowry tradition was very, you can say, very dangerous, and hence this prohibition act came into amendment or came into force in the year 1984. And still after that also in the year 1990 and 93 we could see the numbers going on increasing. In 1988 it was just 2209, but in 1990 it raised to 4835, and later in 1993 the number raised to 5377. So children, you can understand the seriousness of this thing happening. Hence you can see that it was seriously a very dangerous issue. Next, we are going to discuss about the family courts. Family courts were established to resolve conflicts arising out of differences within marriage and domestic problems, as well as issues such as alimony, single parenthood, separation, care of children, and ownership, which are all related to the family situation. These family courts give priority to mutual understanding over witness and evidence and to counselors over lawyers. Emphasis is on resolving issue quickly but justly. So in the year 1984, family courts were established, and not like the other courts, these courts were on the basis of mutual understanding. Okay, now mostly these family problems like uh, fights within the marriage, and then domestic problems in the house, then parenthood, separation, alimony, all these things were dealt with in these family courts, and they tried to resolve the issue very quickly, but that to see that the person gets justice. Okay, children. Next is trial involving alimony in the year 1985. This is also known as Shah Bano Begum case. A fixed amount paid to a married woman, for her upkeep by the husband who has divorced her is called alimony. Okay, children, what is alimony? Alimony is the amount paid by the husband to the divorced wife, okay, for her upkeep. In the case of Muhammad Ahmad Khan versus Shah Bano Begum, the Supreme Court gave the verdict that Shah Bano Begum had the right to alimony. However, religious organizations protested vociferously against the verdict. As a result, the Muslim Women Act Protection of Rights on Divorce was passed by Parliament. As this Shah Bano Begum was a Muslim, they had their own religious organizations who had their own laws, and hence they protested against this uh, alimony thing. But later on, the Parliament itself passed a Protection of Rights Act for the Muslim Women Act. Okay. Next, coming to is the Commission of Sati Prevention Act. On the 4th of September 1987, Roop Kaur, a married woman, committed sati. She did not do this of her own free will. She was coerced into doing so, or she was forced. Okay, she did not do it willingly, she was forced by the community. Committing sati, glorifying the practice of sati, were all illegal acts. The women the activist and journalist Meena Menon, Geeta Sheshu, Sujata Anandan, Anu Joseph, and Kalpana Sharma investigated the case. In 1998, the government passed the Sati Prevention Act with very stringent provisions. Yes, later on there were strict acts or the strict rules made, and sati became illegal, and hence this practice was totally stopped or abolished. Now these were the women activists who gave their contribution: Meena Menon, Geeta Sheshu, Sujata Anandan, Anu Joseph, and Kalpana Sharma. Okay, children. So this is how sati means what, children? When husband dies, the woman also has to jump into the fire. So this was stopped. Next, moving to is the Protection of Human Rights Act. In the year 1993, this law was enacted to prevent injustice to men and women. The National Human Rights Commission was also forced for this purpose. In some states, the State Human Rights Commission was also formed on the same lines. This law, which deals with collective oppression, the social conditions of divorced women, women and secure workplaces, played an effective role in mitigating injustice to women. Okay. Now, children, this Human Right Protection Act was for everyone, for the men and the women as well. In any case there is any oppression which is taking place, or the social condition of divorced women is not good, women and secure, they should be secure in the workplaces. All of these played a very effective role in removing this injustice to women. Okay, children. Next is reservation for women. The 73rd and the 74th amendments to the Constitution provided for reservation of 1/3 of the seats of women in the Gram Panchayats, the Panchayat Samiti, the Zilla Parishad, municipalities and municipal corporation, as well as for the post of Sarpanch, Chairman and Mayor. Maharashtra and 15 other states have reserved 50% seats for women. This provision provides women the opportunity to participate in the business of the community. Yes, so this way women were involved, and reservations were given in 15 states including Maharashtra. 50% of seats were given to women. Okay. In the post-independence period, the Constitution of India accepted the principle of equality of men and women. Hence, women got the important political right to vote. Okay. Later on, after the independence period, post-independence period, women were given the right to vote. Women got equal rights to education and work on par with men. Inhuman practices like sati, dowry, polygamy were banned by law. What is polygamy, children? Getting married to more than one woman is polygamy. So this was all banned by law. Women's right to sue for divorce was recognized. Okay, now women also could raise their voice against divorce and put a case. Sue means to launch or file a case against the husband. They got a lawful share in property. Yes, they got a lawful share in the father's property, as well as they could claim after divorce property of their husbands. The local self-government bodies seats were reserved for women so that they would have their just share of political power. We see today that due to these provisions, women have begun to get education and to earn. Yes, you must have seen that how many women now are going to work, earning, educated, etc. Okay, so this is what change was brought about in the society. Also, due to ideas of women's liberation, women are developing a sense of self. They are now standing for their own. They have begun to participate enthusiastically and with determination in all fields of education, earning money, administration, politics, etc. So this is how women have have developed themselves in all the fields. Now next is scheduled caste. In the post independence period, our constitution adopted the values of freedom, equality, fraternity, and social justice. In accordance with this, the practice of untouchability was banned by law. Untouchability was removed by the 17th paragraph of the constitution, and this class was included in the scheduled castes. In view of the educational and social backwardness of these castes, they were given reservations in education as well as jobs to facilitate their development. So children, as they were lacking development, government provided a lot of facilities for them by giving reservations, and also banned, or there was a law which was passed for untouchability. The practice of untouchability was totally banned by law. Okay, and there is a special provision for them which is given reservations in education as well as in job. Okay, to facilitate their development so that they should not feel left over or left behind. Hence they also were given preferences. Next is scheduled tribes. Just like the scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes or Adivasis who live in remote parts of the country also face several difficulties. As they have lived far away from the progress made in modern times, they are economically and socially backward. Even though their conditions have seen some improvements in recent time, they do not have any means of livelihood other than agriculture and forest produce. Modern farming implements have not yet reached them. Hence, their income from agricultural activities is very small. Besides, these fields are on hillsides and not fertile. They are malnourished due to the insufficient and poor quality of diet. Adivasis in remote areas find it difficult to get medical attention in time. For all these reasons, there is a need to give special protection to Adivasis. In the Indian Constitution, Adivasis have been enumerated as scheduled tribes. These are getting given representation in the law boards, education, government service, etc. So, children, here the Adivasis are lacking the development. So, hence, government has made a lot of changes. And what about facilities like the representation in law boards, education, and government services, etc. Next, moving to is the nomadic and denotified tribes. Castes and tribes that move from place to place for a livelihood are included under nomadic tribes. They live by rearing animals and engaging in some other occupations. The British had declared some of these as criminal tribes in the law of 1971 to curb crimes. Some of the main groups were mentioned as criminal tribes and their occupations and movements were banned. This unjust law was repealed in the post independence period and the curbs on these tribes were lifted. They were included under denotified tribes. Special efforts are made by the government for the purpose of their social and economic development. These tribes have been given representation in educational institutions and the government sector. So, children, same like the other backward classes, even the nomadic and the denotified tribes, which were during the British rule, were termed as criminal tribes, were given importance after the independence, and they also got their special place in the Indian Constitution. They were given representation in educational institutes and the government sectors, etc. Coming to the last part is the minorities. In any society, a group of people of a particular religion, language, or race who are few in number are termed as a minority. As there are various religions, sects, and languages in our country, we see great cultural diversity. There is variation in cultural traditions too. In order to preserve their culture, traditions, and develop their own languages, the Constitution gives the citizens certain educational and cultural rights. Minorities have the right to protect and conserve their language, culture, and tradition. For this purpose, they have the right to set up separate educational institutions. The government implements various schemes for their progress. Now, see, minorities are the group of people of various religion, language, or any race, because in India we see that so many religions, so many languages are spoken, and hence This minorities also are given special preferences. Okay, the government implements various schemes for their progress. Okay, children, I hope this chapter is clear to you all. It's a request for all the students to go through the textbook, read it once, and see that there is no difficulty. If any difficulty, you can ask your doubts. Okay. In the next chapter, we shall learn about the progress that India has made in the fields of science and technology in the post independence period. For now, thank you. Have a nice day.